My name is Zach Costello, and I'm Larsen Motorsports' new developmental driver.
Okay, here we go, guys, in 3, 2, 1.
I started with Larsen Motorsports over 4 years ago as an intern through Florida Tech, and I've worked my way up. For the past 3 years I've been a crew chief, and now I'm a crew chief for Elaine Larsen.
So a lot of people want to know how to become a race car driver. It happens actually back here in the shop. First, Larsen puts them through classroom training. He teaches them all about the systems on the race car, and then when he's done with them, then it's my turn. I put them in the car and I take them through all of the processes that they're going to need to know to get the car safely down the track. After they're finished with the shop training, then it's time to suit them up and put them out in the parking lot and let them fire the car up for the very first time. That's kind of a special time because there's only the first one time. When Zach got fired up or suited up the first time, I think he was a little nervous, which is great. You never want to be scared, but nerves are always good. He got in the car, he did exactly like he was supposed to, started the car up, absolutely no incident, and then it's on to the next step.
I think that very first startup is really important, but the classroom time prior to that is especially important. We believe that a driver should know every single thing that's happening with that car every time they push a switch or move a lever, what happens throughout the other areas of the car.
So starting up the car for the first time, I've seen it enough times that I felt comfortable with the process in general. My biggest nervous points were getting the idle RPM down right, making sure I don't go too high out of cutoff, and really kind of working the engine extra hard.
Smoke and fire, when I tell you to roll forward, you're going to roll forward about this much, and then do another fire and roll forward about this much, okay? And then you're, yep, and then we're going to do a burner pop. On every burner pop, I'm going to have you roll forward about this much. Okay. And then again about this much, okay? So it's just a little bit at a time. I'm going to be sitting here with my hand like this, okay? The first time, I'm going to run the show, not you, okay? Because I'm going to show you how the show needs to be run. Zach's first pass, I kind of controlled the run. I told him exactly what I was looking for. Because there's times where I say move forward just a little bit. Well, what's a little bit, you know? And I want to take away all of his nerves on that first time to where he's just focusing in on doing exactly what we're telling him. After he's done it a couple times, then it's time for him to kind of get in his whole swing of things. So how he does things might not be exactly the same way I do it. So first I start out and I tell him just lead in with a little smoke, and that's just fuel, okay? And that's just the thumb process. When I want him to make smoke and then fire, I do the signal. When I want him to make a burner pop, those are just the signals. Very simple, something that a driver can see in his helmet from a long distance away.
So my family accepting me to race started with Corey, my fiance. Before I even talked with Chris and Elaine about having any interest in driving, we talked for maybe about a week about, whether this is something that we both, are comfortable with and if it matches how we're wanting to move forward together. I didn't actually tell my family until we had an agreement with Larsen Motorsports to where I could actually become the next driver. My parents were a little hesitant at first. For the longest time I've been the safe child, and my brother, he likes to ride motorcycles, and my mom was a little nervous about the whole thing. But now that they've been at the track and seen me actually doing some stuff, they've definitely been more comfortable. My brother, he's definitely been all about it the whole time though. One thing I'm really proud about is my brother's going to fire school right now to be a firefighter. So we'll have a bit of a tag team on the track. I'll make the fires and he'll set them out.
So the first thing that I'm looking for is that he knows how to start the car and does that successfully. After he starts the car, then he must learn how to do the smoke and fire. After smoke and fire, we progress into burner pops. After burner pops, then there's one last thing, and that's staging a jet car. Staging a jet car is a lot harder than a normal car.
Well, staging a jet car is one of those very unique skill sets that a jet car driver has. Think about it. Top fuel dragsters, super pro dragsters, and all of these other cars, they pre-stage that car with a little bit of power to roll forward, and then most of the time those cars stage at an idle or maybe just a little bit above an idle. A jet car You pull into the pre-stage beans at 90% power. Now what does that mean? The car is already making over 1-to-1 power to weight ratio. In our cars, you know, they have 4 pedals in the driver's compartment. The center 2 pedals are brake pedals, one for the front brakes, one for the rear brakes. The outboard pedals simply footrests for the driver to brace themselves when the parachutes come out at the end of the track. As that driver approaches the starting line, the driver has to have total control. Pre-stage at 90%. Car goes to 100% throttle, wide open throttle. The driver has to hold the car back with the engine at full power. At that point, the engine's making nearly 3,000 pounds of thrust in a car that weighs less than half of that. So almost a 2-to-1 power to weight ratio. It's a very special skill set. It's something that only jet car drivers know that feeling, and it's pretty impressive when you see what's really going on there. There's part of his battle right there.
Once he's staged, he's full power, and all he's doing at this point is just waiting for the lights to drop. The first flash of yellow, his feet pop off the brakes, and then he's going to his target. For the first target, we put him at the 330-foot mark, and that is showing us that he has situational awareness. And what that means is he knows exactly where he's at on the track. It's much easier to do when he's going slow. After he's completed that successfully twice, then we have him go a little further down the track to the 660, then to the 1,000 foot, and finally he accomplishes the full quarter mile in engine only.
So the whole day leading up to my first fire up, I was super nervous. I barely ate at all, which is uncharacteristic, and I just had those nerves going all the way up until I got buckled in, and then that's when the nerves really started getting going, because this is something new. This is something chaotic in a way that you don't have. It's chaotic in a way you're controlling all of this chaos behind you going down the track, and that those moments leading up to that is you're just trying to figure out the best way to make as safe of a run as possible. So the nerves get going, but after that first pass, you really get the feeling of this is okay, you're doing fine, and that it's not as bad as it seems from outside looking in.
Okay, so Zach, I'm gonna have you come over here. You can do that in a little bit. Let's go over this. So we're gonna do this first. I want you to tell me how do you think it went?
I went pretty fast up to 70 as well, so I was trying to slow myself. I see over. He's just.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, that was another.
I like how quick you came out of cutoff there. That was excellent.
Okay.
And can you tell it started nice and smooth?
Okay, cool. I wasn't sure if that was
Weather
too
like
fast.
this, no, that's pretty good. Weather like this, you know, you're not as susceptible for compressor
Good
faults.
job with your hand monitoring this RPM. Good job, Zach.
Making nice small adjustments. You're looking down the track. You saw me say, you look down that track. Yep. Nice and straight. No big moves on the steering wheel.
Right,
That's nice.
nice. Lay down the reserve with you,
But if
Zach.
it's moving around, you do want to stop. Don't ever just.
I noticed myself
Very
going left a little bit, so I came over.
Very nice. So I think you're right, you know, late on the reserve. I took a little while to shut the switches off.
But I told him to be calm about it because
Yeah.
I didn't want him to pop his hand and put it back into cutoff or
cutoff,
yeah. So I told him to get himself
I
settled.
thought it was pretty darn good.
I think I'm
Yeah,
pleased
nice,
with
huh?
it. I'm very pleased.
So do you want me shutting off the switches sooner then?
No, that what you did was perfect. What he did was perfect.
Let's Elaine's really in charge, but I'd love to see you repeat that exact same
Nope,
thing.
yep, do that again. So 1,000 foot, what we're gonna be really looking for is your precision and shutting off at exactly where we tell you. If you do that well, the next stage, there's another thing right here, look.
Thank you.
The next stage will be full quarter mile engine only, and then we'll assess after that. But the main thing that you have to do is have precision staging, okay? Okay, that's it.
inspecting the afterburner, making sure everything's good to go, so when Zach starts his burner runs, we have a perfect afterburner.
The first part of this licensing process I have to complete is still just progressing through the training part of driving. I've only gone to the 330 mark in full afterburner, so it's going to be moving to the next incrementals after that. After we're all happy with what I'm doing in the full quarter mile, it goes into the full licensing process where we will be measuring the speed and ETs at different incrementals down the track to match the NHRA and IHRA specifications. And with 12 good passes, I'll have my jet car license. And for the upcoming year, I'm hoping to get into a car full time and be able to provide a show for everyone. The best piece of advice that I can think of that has come recently was from Chris while I was at the track this past weekend. Here I am, I'm very nervous, I'm ready to get going. And Chris says, just remember, you're here to have fun. You've worked hard for this. Have fun. And he said that a couple of times throughout the day, and that actually really helped me settle down, keep cool, and make some really nice